All right, awesome. So we've got Abby on today. Abby, why don't you kind of introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about kind of who you are, where you were at when you started, kind of how you came across us, what made you want to start, and then basically kind of where you're at when you started and kind of where you're at today.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm Abby. So I found you basically like a couple of years ago watching Instagram, and have had been following you for quite some time. When I decided to do the program, I was in a position after having 8 knee surgeries, having my ninth knee surgery. I knew I needed to do something to kind of just build from the ground back up and kind of help me gain that self confidence back to start lifting heavier, start pushing myself in skiing, and pushing myself mountain biking. So that's kind of where I was when I started, right out of having my meniscus surgery in October. And I knew I was gonna need something that allowed me to really kind of focus in, address the pain issues. And this program really is what did that for me. So where I'm at now, um, I'm squatting ass to grass, which is something that I don't think ever been able to say. Most of my lifting career has always just been like struggling to hit that parallel and being happy with the parallel squat, and kind of losing out on that extra range of motion. So that's one thing that I've really seen here in the last couple of weeks as I start to work back into more of like a strength program. Being able to hit that lower squat is something that I'm pretty proud of to see that come out of the program that I did with you. Um, as far as pain, when I started, my pain levels, I would say chronic pain. Definitely something that for a long time I tried to just use like ibuprofen and other substances to mitigate that pain. Um, but being able to be in a position now where I don't need to take anything to be able to go out and ski 20 laps on the ski hill, is a pretty good feeling. So the pain is another aspect that I really saw a difference in. Um, Stiffness was something that at the beginning I was really struggling with, specifically in my right knee. I had that modified Lemaire graft done on my fourth ACL on my right knee, and that caused a lot of stiffness issues. Even after I was cleared to go back to sports, I was still having issues just getting up from my computer to go to the bathroom or to walk to the kitchen to get a drink. I'd kind of have to sit there and work on my mobility a little bit before I took that first step. Where today I literally jumped out of my office chair and ran to let the dog out because I could hear her getting ready to go to the bathroom. So like just things like that. I've really noticed an improvement in those three things specifically.
That's amazing. And so, what's your skiing journey been like? 'Cause I know we've been back skiing for quite some time now. Like you got back skiing pretty early on. How are you feeling out on the slopes? And what is your with all of the stuff that you've had going on? Like, what's your skiing journey been like through all of that? When is the last time you felt like you do now?
Yeah, so I would say when I started skiing super young, like so young that like my dad had to use one of those like harnesses to hold me back and whatnot. So I have really good fond memories as skiing as a kid. But once I blew my left knee out for the first time, and that was freshman year of high school, I stopped all skiing. I didn't want to touch it. I was scared to death of it. And I didn't ski for 8 years. I didn't ski all through high school. I didn't ski all through college. And then finally after college, I made the decision to try to ski again. And that was after having 3 ACLs. And I skied with a brace. I had my knee braced. I skied for an entire year, was very cautious. I would say I wasn't a very comfortable skier. I would get really mad when kids like blew around me. I'd be that person yelling at them like, slow down, you almost hit me. So I definitely was not a confident individual on the slopes. After at the beginning of the program, I would say I mean, I gained confidence over a couple years of skiing. I had like 2 years under my belt, um, and then I blew my left knee out, unfortunately. So it was a little bit of a shock then the following year to come back from that. but I was still bracing my left knee and skiing without a brace on my right knee. But I really wanted to kind of work to that position where I didn't need to be skiing with a brace at all. And that's something that this program has also done for me. So at the beginning of this, I made a goal to not wear my brace at all, um, for this at the beginning of the season. And I don't think I would have been able to be as confident as I am on the slope. Skiing is hard, jumping off crap, like following the young kids into the trees, like all that stuff. So I don't think I would be as confident doing those things, especially without a knee brace on, if I would not have done this program. And one of the other things I was kind of thinking about, was that I I'm so grateful to have found this program, because I don't think it's stuff that's taught in like your typical ACL or meniscus recovery that you get from a PT. And I think that's sad. I think they should have started incorporating some of this stuff. So I wanted to bring that up as well.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to ask you about because you being someone who's clearly had quite a bit of experience in that realm, you've certainly kind of been through the ringer and done that so many times. Like, what would you say has been some of the big differences between what we've done together and what you've done in the past?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference is kind of that idea of like return to play, right? Like your whole program is building up that mindset, building up that strength, building up that range of motion to be able to jump back into these high intensity contact sports. And I don't think that the ACL protocol that most PTs use is aggressive enough for young athletes to properly be put back into sports. And I think that if I would have done this program prior to one of my ACLs, maybe a couple of them, I think that my chance of tearing that ACL or tearing my right knee, for the first time, I think it would be a lot lower.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And that is kind of one of the ideas that we really take is like just building on some of those principles of traditional rehab, but just that intensity level is definitely something that a lot of you hear with a lot of athletes. It's designed to kind of get you back on your feet a lot of times, but to
Hmm.
actually get back into doing more competitive, more athletic stuff can definitely.
Yeah, and I would say like my last physical therapist was by far my favorite physical therapist that I had ever worked with. She was the first person I saw in the injury clinic when I came in to figure out if I had a torn ACL. And from there, built a really strong, great relationship with this woman. And she really did push me. I did feel challenged. I felt like I came back super, super strong. But I do think there's things that we addressed in this program that I would have hoped that a physical therapist would have addressed, but that wasn't necessarily addressed. So.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. And then last thing, if you were talking to someone in a similar position as you, like kind of at the start of this, and who is maybe just looking at something like this, looking for maybe a different approach, or just was wondering what they can do to get that last little bit, get all the way back to 100%, get back to sports and stuff like that. What were maybe some of the doubts, concerns that you had at the beginning that maybe you feel better about now, or what are some of the advice, some of the things you would tell to a younger self or to somebody else in a similar position?
So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when like you go to your Instagram and look at your Instagram and the program's Instagram, you see a lot of young, really young athletes and like high school, college aged athletes. And I think the one big takeaway for me would be to tell people that like you don't have to be, a teenager or a high schooler or even just a college student to really want to focus on the longevity of your knees. And so I think that the biggest thing would be to tell people that if you're 50, this would be a great thing for you to do for your knees. Like, shit, if you're 60, 70, or 80, like you could do these exercises and see an improvement in your pain and your quality of life, in your mobility. And so I think that would be the biggest thing I would say.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Well, thank you for saying that. Any last kind of thoughts? Anything else you want to add before we let you go here?
I would just say that if anyone is on the border of doing it, I teetered on that border for a really long time, and all of my like worries were put to rest after like the second week of training. So
I'm very,
Very
very,
happy I did it.
I'm very proud of you for all the work that you put in. You're the one that's done all the
Thank
sets and
you.
reps. I've just pointed you in the right direction. So very proud of all the stuff that you've done and look forward to see you keep killing it out on the slopes.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Amazing.